Hello everyone and welcome to GT Academy 2015 Round 1 Guide. We're here at Silverstone in the Nismo GTR, and this won't be as detailed as the final round guide, and the aim is under 15 minutes for this one. And this is using that 2 minutes 5.463 lap I did on the second day, and I've only really done about 2.5 hours at that point. Now I've had a little bit of a break from it, I've been doing other things, and I had a go tonight again, and I'm still getting in the 205, so using all these tips I'm about to give you. Something to mention before we kick it all off, I won't be speaking about the handbrake during this. Similar to last year, I just don't use it. I just don't like using it. I just don't want to use it. So I won't be using that. And also, before we kick off, there's a few tips to mention. So during this little guide, I will be using gears in a way to manipulate the car. So the car has more pull in the higher rev range. So we can use that to our advantage because we can get a bit of oversteer. The car seems to be more, the torque seems to be more at the rear, so we can get around a little bit and get ourselves out the corner. Braking, trail braking, the usual stuff to manipulate the weight of the car and to also help with braking, as you will see during the lap. And in some cases you'll have to be smooth with the steering, and in other cases you'll have to be aggressive with the steering. Now in the other GT Academy rounds I'll probably do a wheel cam, but I've not had a chance to do it with this round. So unfortunately it's just this lap. So let's kick it off with turn 1 and Abbey. So like normal, we're going to cross the start finish line. Don't really look at your speedo at this point because you're just wanting to improve really. One thing to note with these tips is, this is going to help you get a 205 or improve generally. So as we approach Abbey, I'm just going to pause it there. You'll notice on the left hand side you will see the red barrier, but there's also a white marker in there. Now this is your first braking point. So what you're going to do here is, as you approach this marker, you're going to aim for it, like on the side with your eyes, and then you're just going to hit the brakes. Now as you hit the brakes, you're then going to want to start trail braking after a little while and start to aim towards the corner. Now as you will be well aware, this car likes to understeer. So there's cones on the apex, you want to aim for those cones and you should just miss them. And also curbing has more grip, so if you can get on the curbing, it'll pull you around just a tiny bit more and you'll be able to get that bit better lap time. So you'll notice I dabbed the brakes initially during this lap because I'm so new to the time trial. I'm dabbing the brakes because I don't know the full braking extent. Now as we go later on in the time trial, you'll notice the braking becomes a lot smoother, as you'll see when I upload my final lap time. And what you'll see then is, rather than dabbing, it's just a slow flow of braking, so I'll adjust accordingly. But at the moment it's just dabbing, and you can see how it reacts here as I go into the corner. So let's play turn 1 and Abbey. So as you can see, I brake hard at the marker, instantly start to turn in, and I come off the brakes, dab the brakes. I'm just dabbing the brakes, and as you see I try and take as much as the curbing as I can on the inside. Now, as you leave Abbey, if you leave Abbey too wide, it will affect you turn 2, which is Farm, which is just this fast left-hander. Now, two ways you can react in this situation. What you can do is you can either try and stay more to the inside of the track, just to get a nice smooth line through Farm, or you can let off a little bit and just try and get around the corner. Now you're going to stay in 4th gear no matter what, and you're going to get very close to the limiter, so it doesn't affect you that much. Now obviously if you're watching this guide you may be struggling to just get into 205s, this won't affect it that much. So try not to focus on this part too much. There are other corners where you can make up far more time. So we'll just swing our way through Farm here. Try again, use the inside. And we are going to stay in 4th gear. We are not going to change to 5th. Now 5th is a little faster, but it's not worth it just to stay in a pattern and a routine, and it means your braking marker will become far more consistent. When I mean brake, what do I mean by the brake marker? I mean the brake marker for Village. So on the left hand side, as we do every year at Village, we use the curbing. So just before it or on it, depending on where you are on the road. Normally if you're in the middle of the road it'll just be at it. If you're further on the road you're going to do it a bit further back because obviously your field of vision is different. You're going to use the curbing as your brake marker, and you'll notice I will start to adjust the brakes during the braking phase. Now a lot of people did ask me about this, especially early on my first lap that I uploaded, is why do I seem to be able to brake better than everybody else, even though I'm not braking as much. I'm not braking at 100% sometimes. And the reason being is because we've had the fast left-hander at farm, when you come into village, the weight will slightly be on the right. Now if you start to trail brake around 80%, the weight will start to move towards the centre again, and that means you can brake better rather than it all being on the right side and the car being a bit all over the place. That's the reason I could brake better. You want to brake in a straight line with no weight movement. Now if you can try this yourself. If you come into there flying all the way on the right side and you brake, you won't lose any speed at all and you just go flying off the track. So that is literally the reason. Obviously you've got to be precise with it. You can adjust the brake slightly, you can drop down to even 60% and make sure the car's braking straight. So as you come into village, as you will see now, I start adjusting brakes and I will trail brake in towards the apex. Now as soon as I hit the apex, which is where the cones are, I'm going to accelerate. Now you've got to be careful when you accelerate because you will get a bit of oversteer. You get more oversteer if your turning lock's higher. Don't worry about that too much. Lift off if you need to, just a tiny bit, and change to third gear. Now as I come into the loop, this is real judgment corner. It was last time we were here in GT Academy. It is again. Now I've got a bit of a pattern going where I change to third, I stay in it for a little bit, and then I'm going to brake and drop down to second and turn in. Now for the loop, you want to be more towards the right hand side to get a really good exit and get out there, out the corner really quickly and then off down the straight. Now middle of the road is good enough. Don't go through too far to the left because you're going to have to basically stop on the corner to get round it. Now obviously some people do use the handbrake, as I mentioned. I'm not going to talk about using that. So try and stay in the middle to the right hand side so you can get a good line in. Now obviously the more to the right you are, the more you can trail brake in and actually keep momentum as you go around the corner. So as I come in, I'm changed to third. I'm then going to brake and drop to second instantly, and you'll see me trail brake all the way in. Again, the cones are your sort of apex, sort of acceleration point, and instantly accelerate. Now you've got to be careful on the exit because you may get oversteer, and you'll see me get oversteer here, as you see there, and the Ghost actually accelerates ahead of me. So just be aware of your steering lock there and where you're sort of accelerating, because if you get too much oversteer, you're going to lose time. Aintree, turn 5, very simple. Try to use as much of the curbing on the inside as you can. As you see there by the Ghost, uses all of it and accelerate out. Be careful of tyre squeal. Tyre squeal will tell you whether you're basically turning too much or not, and then just accelerate down the Wellington Straight. And we're going to approach Brooklands. So all in that sector, basically, it's all about adjusting the weight accordingly and just trail braking into corners and just getting a good idea of the car. Now this is where it gets interesting in this next section. So I'm just going to pause it here. Now on the right side, we have in the past used these Brooklands building there. We have used the curbing in the past as well. We're not going to use either of those this time because there's another brake marker we can use here. Now of course I used my old ones initially when I started, and you can still use them if you want, if they're better for you. But you will notice on the right side of the curbing in a second there is a white marker, and this is where you're going to brake. Now every time we've done Brooklands, we've always said this: you go into the corner as if you're aiming for the apex a little bit, sort of in the centre of the track, because it's a double apex corner. So the instant you see the brake marker, you want to turn in a little bit and just slam on the brakes. And in this corner, Brooklands, and also in Luffield, we're actually going to use what I mentioned earlier on, the gears, to manipulate the car to get us around the corner. So let's look for this brake marker first. As you can see, there it is, and then you'll notice I turn in a little bit. Now, as you see, I'm dropping down the gears, third gear. I'll start trail braking initially, and you can see I'm scrubbing off enough speed there, but I'm a bit tight to the corner. Now you can do this in a tight line, or you can do it a bit wider. So obviously the Ghost is a bit wider, and you'll see the outcome of this as we come out of Luffield. Brooklands, sorry. As you can see, I've dropped to second gear. Now what we're going to do here, because sometimes you might think, why am I dropping to second gear? As I mentioned earlier, when the car's in the higher rev range, the car will want to oversteer a little bit more with the steering lock, and this is good because obviously the car understeers. You cancel understeer with oversteer, and this is the perfect example. So the instant I want to start accelerating, I hit the throttle as hard as I can, the car rotates a little bit, I try and control that a little bit, especially if I've got too much steering lock on, hit third gear straight away and accelerate out. And this is exactly what you're going to see here in just now. So as you can see, I've dropped to 60, I've instantly accelerated. Notice how the Ghost gets a bit better because he had a bit better line through Brooklands, and then we approach Luffield. Now you can see I'm a bit more to the left of the Ghost here, and it's actually better that I'm here It's actually even better if you can get a bit further to the left if you take a bit wider line. So where he straightened up his steering, I'd have probably kept it on a bit more. So I got a better line for the Luffield corner. Now Luffield again is a tricky one, because essentially we're going to use the gears again, and we've got to get it right on this one because there's a national straight is after it, so it's a long acceleration period, so it's quite an important corner. So if you're really low in the times, 206, 207, this is quite a good corner to try and get right to really improve your time. So when you come into this, you want to trail brake all the way in, and once again we're going to drop to second gear. So as you can see here, we're going to come in, we're going to drop to second, and we're just going to let the car roll around, dabbing the brakes, making sure we keep a really tight line, because it's essentially a hairpin. Now, did you notice that I accelerated and I've come off again? I accelerated too early here, and this is going to cost me time all the way down National Straight. So you got to be quite patient with the car, and this is one of the times where you don't want to be aggressive at all. Patience actually helps. And the exit is a bit of a judgment thing, so you notice there I've ran a bit wide now. He's going to get ahead of me, and then I accelerate, and notice I get that rotation there. You can just see it on the car. I then change to third when I've got enough. I don't want too much rotation, I'll lose even more time. Once I've changed to third, I'm happy, I can accelerate out the corner. The Ghost is going to have a little bit more of a run on me because I accelerated too early during Luffield. So now we're just going to accelerate nice and smooth through Woodcut and down the National Straight. Nice and easy, and then we're going to approach one of our favourite corners, as always, in any GT Academy, Copse. Copse is the good old annoying corner, which is so hard to judge and so hard to get right every single lap, and does affect lap times constantly. You'll be on a smashing lap and then you'll mess up Copse. It always happens to me, it happens to the best of us, and we're about to hit it now. So our brake marker is as it's always been on the right hand side. We've got the barrier and its colour changing constantly. We're going to brake just after the colour change. Now again, as always, there's two ways to take Copse. Now you can be quite tight, but there's more chance of you understeering off the track, so I don't recommend this one. What I actually do recommend is turning in later, because it's actually safer, and what gear you're in depends on where you're trying to get on the leaderboard. Now if you just want to get in the 205s, 206s, 207s, do this trick that I'm about to show you, and maybe even turn in a little bit later, and it won't affect you too much, but it'll give you a lot more consistency. So as I said, you're going to brake just after the colour change, so basically in the white, and you're going to brake, and then just before the 50 metre board you're going to want to turn in, and you'll be trail braking at this point. When you're about 102 miles an hour, you're then going to want to change to third gear. So we're going to do similar to what we've done previous, but because it's a higher gear, it's not as effective as much, which is not too bad, but it will just mean you get that little bit of turn to get round the corner and stop any understeer. And also when you then change back to fourth, you've just got a tiny little bit of a, the gear change selection, the change may seem instant, but it's just a tiny bit enough just to get you around a little bit more, that little bit of a brake to get the car around. So we'll just do that now. So as you can see, just after the colour change, I brake, I just trail brake instantly, and I turn just before the 50 metre board. Maybe even I should have turned a bit more, a bit later there. You notice I changed to third gear. Notice I've just missed the cones, which is good. The Ghost is a bit more on the inside, that's fine. But notice how I get the turn around the corner, and it's all happy days. Don't run too wide here, it will invalidate your lap. It's more on that lighter green stuff. And then we're going to accelerate to turns 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, which is obviously Maggots, Becketts, Chapel, all that section. And this is where you want to now turn on aggression mode. This is where you want to be really aggressive through these corners. I'm just going to brake it here. Now I've turned in a slight bit too early on this lap. You want to stay out a bit wider for a bit longer, because you want to basically straight line turn 10 so that you get good strong braking for turn 11. So you're not going to brake for turn 10, you're going to just turn in and then want to get straight line braking. Now you can use all the curb here. It will affect the weight, so if you hit the sausage part of the curb, it will affect your weight, it will move. So if you want to miss that, miss that. If you want to hit that, because it can actually help a little bit. If the weight moves in the right way, it can chuck you right and you can keep a huge amount of speed. So we'll just watch this first bit here, as you can see. I'm then going to brake in a straight line, and then I'm going to turn in straight away. And this is where I start to trail brake. Now, on a lot of the replays, because I've watched a couple, they all miss this apex, and I always try and aim for this because there's loads of time in this. Aim for the cones, it will understeer, but remember what I said at Abbey, the first corner, the curbs have a lot of grip, so if you can get on there, you get a good line through this section, and then we'll start to head towards turn 12. So I miss it slightly there, you can get it a lot closer than that, but I still keep a good momentum. So I accelerate a little bit and then I'm going to start to brake. Now at this point you're going to want to go from aggression to smoothness. I'm going to just scrub off speed gradually throughout this section until we get to the full-on acceleration period. So as you can see, I'm just trail braking through, trying to stay on the curbs. Slightly miss the apex, I'm carrying slightly bit too much speed, so I'm going to be compromised for this next corner. So I'm going to have to brake a little bit more, so I'm going to lose a bit more time here. But again, you want to use all the curbing on the inside, and you can accelerate just before the cones or just on the cones, depending on how you feel. And you've got to be careful on the exit here. If you run too wide too quickly, it will invalidate your lap. As you can see here, I'm just over the curbing, so it's fine, and I can accelerate out. So now we're going down Hanger Straight, nice lovely straight, and you can think where you are in the time. Obviously, I'm not too bad there, I'm not that far behind the Ghost, and now we just race towards Stowe. So in that section that we've just done, you want to go from aggression to smoothness and just scrubbing off speed as you go through that entire section until you get a good smooth line out, and that's all about rhythm. Well, the entire lap's about rhythm, but that section especially is all about rhythm. So turn 15, Stowe. We've had many braking markers in the past for Stowe. This one is just after this sign. There's a marker on the left hand side, and just a note for Hanger Straight as well. You want to stay in 5th gear. You can go to 6th and get a bit more speed, but it will affect your consistency again because you'll be a bit faster and your braking zone will be off. So as we come into here, we're going to start braking, and again we're going to want to gradually turn in as we get to the curb, start trail braking in and go around Stowe. But don't worry if you run too wide because it doesn't affect you that much. Again, we're going to drop to 3rd gear and we'll be able to accelerate around quite quickly. And the cones again are our guide. So where do we accelerate? Either just before the cones or on the cones. So there's the marker there. I'm going to brake to 4th gear. I'm straight line braking at the moment. And then as I start to turn in, I'm going to start to trail brake. Trail brake down to 3rd gear. And I'm going to start to turn in. You'll notice I missed the apex a little bit. But as I said, you can run a little bit wide here and it won't affect you that much. You will lose a bit of time, of course, because you've not hit the apex. But, you know, not every lap. No lap is perfect. So, if you can just nail a good, consistent rhythm through Stowe and concentrate in other areas, you will improve your lap time. So now we're going to head to Vale and turn 16, 17, essentially, at Club. The braking zone for Vale is really early. Because we've got a good rhythm out of Stowe, we've actually got quite a lot of speed. So your brake marker is where the sign is, just before the sign. Now it's better to brake early here rather than late. If you brake too late, you'll miss the corner entirely and you'll lose more time than braking early and losing a tenth. So brake early, brake before the sign, and you're going to drop to 2nd gear. You want to stay towards the right hand side of the track until you've dropped to 2nd gear, and then you'll want to start turning in, and once again you're going to trail brake a tiny bit and then just let the car roll, get good turning, use the curbing on the inside, and then you're going to accelerate a little bit. You want a bit of this to be straight lined before you start turning again to the right, because that means the weight transfer will stop and then you can turn and you'll get a good rhythm through there. Now you want to accelerate out of here, try and keep the steering lock on as much as you can as you come through this and come to Club, because if you do, the weight transfer will stay very consistent and safe and you'll be able to just do this flat. Now if you start to understeer wide, you can come off the throttle a tiny bit and come back on it, and again you won't understeer wide off the track. Do be careful how far you run on the exit wide, because it will invalidate this lap and the next one. As you can see, that was quite close. So that was a pretty quick guide of the GT Academy round 1 in the Nismo GTR. I'll just do a quick commentary run through now, and then I wish you luck with round 1 in the remaining week. So as you see there, 2 minute 5.463, and I'll also show the rank as well. So yeah, if you do have any pointers for these guides, do let me know, or any questions. More than happy to take them. And as you can see there, I got ranked 22nd. At the time it was rank 1 in the UK. So here we go, fast lap. So straight down the start finish straight, and we're going to use the marker on the left hand side, that white bit in the red. We want to use as much curbing on the inside and then accelerate through. We want a good line through farm, not too bothered, but as we come into village we want to brake hard and try and adjust your braking accordingly to get a decent weight transfer, so the weight's not causing you to not brake hard enough. Coming through the loop, you just want to get a good good acceleration out of there, good grip, so you can get good speed all the way down this straight, and then you can just relax a little bit as you come into Brooklands. Remember, at Brooklands we're going to use the white mark on the right hand side next to the curbing as our brake mark. We want to turn in a little bit, we're going to drop to third gear, trail brake in, and then even drop to second gear, accelerate, try and use the rotation of the car to get you round. Same again at Luffield, so you don't want to accelerate too early. Again, use the rotation, change to third and accelerate out. So coming down National Straight this time, it's Copse. We're going to use the colour change in the barriers on the right hand side. Just after that colour change, we're going to brake, and we're going to turn in quite late, just before the 50 metre board, and we're going to drop to third gear when we get to around 102 miles an hour. Accelerate through, try not to run too wide, it'll invalidate your lap, and then accelerate towards this big complex section. So we're going to straight line this first corner, and we're going to brake straight line in it, be really aggressive into that turn, and then we just want to scrub off the speed slowly but surely, just trail braking all the way through this. Try and get your line perfect. If you have to slow down even more for that turn, do, because it'll help you for hanger straight to get a good acceleration out of there. You don't have to come on and off the accelerator. So we've now got a run towards Stowe, and once again our brake mark is just after the sign. It's a white marker at the side. We're going to brake, and it doesn't matter if you run too wide here. Remember, we're dropping to third gear, just try and accelerate just before the cones, come out there, don't run too wide again. And as we approach Vale, we want to brake before the sign. Brake before the sign, try and get an early brake in, and then brake to second gear, turn in very early, hit the first curb and the second one, and then keep the steering lock on throughout this last section to complete the lap. So that's a quick guide to the Silverstone GT Academy Round 1 time trial. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you at the next one.